delving into data science. Lakshmi currently oversees the innovation in data science, engineering, and analytics team for the single-family modeling data and analytics, a unit that works with complex, large volume, and variety of data to perform intelligent analytics and drive businesses' decisions here at Freddie Mac. Sarah currently leads EMR's central validation function to drive quality and consistency in model validation methodologies enterprise-wide, as well as provide end-to-end risk oversight throughout the life cycle of high-risk models. Facilitating this conversation, we have Devashay, who is an account executive here at Power to Fly. I will pass the mic to all of you all. I'm going to take a drink of water because clearly I've been speaking so much. I'm really excited. I've been learning so much, and I have just a notebook full of things here. And I just want to say thank you all for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi, Sarah. It's so nice to meet you today. I have some questions for you, and we'd love to just get the conversation going. Today we're going to be delving into the world of data science and analytics. First of all, how would you both say that the relationship between technology and business has changed in the last few years?
Sure. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Lakshmi.
Thank you for having me here. It's a great privilege and to be sharing this DS with all the great women in the workforce. So to answer your question, technology used to be an enabler for us in the business to be able to use it as a platform to offer our products and services at a high level. But over the past years, technology has really become an integral part of our business. The technology revolution has kind of also revolutionized the way the companies conduct business. So at Freddie Mac, when we look at the technology landscape that's evolving at the breakneck pace, right? Digital technology, cloud transformations, big data analytics, our core aspects of the housing, default servicing industries, which kind of remain rooted in certain traditional ways of doing business, we are now, with the help of technology, can look at how we can actually best serve this market in some ways forcing us, right, to look at, call into question whether it's time for us to aggressively evolve into the kind of reimagining our mortgage and housing industry. So that has really led us to transform, because now we have the capabilities. We could look at large volumes of data. We could run these AI machine learning models and really help serve our customers to have a strong, sustainable housing market that could kind of continue to be maintained for decades to come.
Yes, I cannot agree more with Lakshmi on that. More specifically, in model risk area that I personally experienced a lot recent years, one that Lakshmi already mentioned is the AI machine learning, artificial intelligence AI. Machine learning models. Like when I first started my career, like 15 years ago, after graduation from school, like back then, machine learning was a very, very new concept, especially in the financial services industry with a lot of regulations. Today, like in the last few years, I see Freddie Mac started to set up this AI governance and AI machine learning governance framework. And a lot of the areas, the modeling areas, especially with a lot of regulations, even we already started to adopt the machine learning methodologies to support our company's top models, supporting our business. Day to day, we see that previously the software packages for programming now have migrated into more of the open source programming languages. And recent hires from school, all these new graduates, they already started to use the open source programming languages, even starting from school, like compared to like the old days, like everyone, like when I was a student in school, like I didn't get a chance to use SAS in school because that was kind of a certified software that only company has. So in school, we use a different language. After joining, after starting work, I have to learn SAS. But nowadays, it's more kind of integrated. Students use Python in school, and then they can directly use Python to do modeling at work. That's another kind of an immediate difference that I experienced in the past 2-3 years. Other than those, I think cloud migration was a big change that we experienced from IT technology side. And also outside of financial industry, I think everyone knows that blockchain has changed the world, especially the cryptocurrency area. That definitely is a new trend in recent years. And I mean, everyone has to acknowledge that in the last couple of years that this remote work environment is definitely supported by today's capacity of technology. So I'll just pause here and yeah.
Thanks for that,
that's
Sarah.
my really day-to-day experience about the technology.
Yes, it's definitely changing every day, and the real world and the world of technology are impacting each other. So it's interesting to see that constant dynamic, that's happening. So kind of based on, what would you say are the current challenges in data science and analytics, and how might they be approached?
Sure. Sarah, you want to go, or?
Lakshmi, would you like to go first?
Okay. All right. So the challenges are multifold, right? As we talk about in the data science, it is about basically, in a data science is about looking at a large, complex, data-rich problems and then seeing how we can actually use the data to derive, gather insights and then drive business decisions. So by that, by just stating the data itself, we're talking about high velocity, volume, variety of data that we never had access to prior. So as an example, when Freddie Mac offered a product called ACE, which is our automated collateral evaluation model, which is really something that everyone is aware of as appraisal, right? When we buy a home, we actually get an appraisal, which is kind of shows you what should be the kind of the market value and other details about the property from an appraiser. But we were able to think about looking at it from, can we get a value of the property by looking at all the data that we would have, over the years, 10, 15 plus years of data, and can we apply an AI, ML, machine learning algorithms on those data sets to see if we can derive a market value, right? What does that mean to a borrower? It means that they can save costs and time, because an average appraisal costs around 500 or more, and now the borrower could be able to save that money, as well as it shortens the time period of closing a loan. But how we do that is really about looking at all the data. So that in order to actually right size the data and actually providing and driving it to a right solution includes having to have the right talent, which is about some of the software programming, the modeling, but it involves a lot of analytics because you have to be able to understand the data. So we want people who are very interested and curious about learning about the data, understanding the nuances around the data. The data quality is important, right? Obviously, we want to make sure. So, and having a domain expertise. So it's not just about the technology expertise, right? It is about the business domain expertise of being able to understand what are the key data elements that is important to derive at the market value of a property or whatever the business question they're asking. All these coming together is a key thing. A lot of times when we apply an AI ML algorithm, when you don't have a proper business use case, it is going to be challenging to actually make it into a business decision. So trying to get the business trying to have a clear understanding of what is the business problem you're trying to solve or what is the expected outcome, how that would help the business either meet customer needs or increase efficiency, right? Reducing cost, time, or risk management, right? Fraud detection, security. So be very clear about it, and then having these experts both on the data science and the business having to work together along with the technology partners, that is a bigger challenge for us. A lot of times it takes multiple iterations and it needs a lot of time commitment as well to go through that process.
Yeah, from my side, if someone asks me the top challenges in data science, I'll have to also say the same thing. One is data, the other is data scientists, like the people who use data. So on the data side, in addition to all the areas that Lakshmi has already mentioned, from governance, model validation and governance perspective, in the last couple of years, we have been focusing on a monitoring system for the data quality in models. Like traditional ongoing monitoring, we look at the performance metrics of the models, but we didn't really have a system to cover the data qualities in production. And today we have a very comprehensive framework to cover the key significant data elements that's going into the models. And that is mandatory for all the models for production data quality monitoring. And from the people who use data perspective, finding good data scientists who can marry both the technical side with business intuition, that's the key. And that's a very difficult and challenging for our new data scientists, especially who just joined us recently, and they have all the data processing and model development skills, but to really put them into a business context really takes a lot of effort and a lot of experiences. So finding good data scientists who can really use the data and interpret the data appropriately, that is always a challenge. Talking about machine learning and AI, we have some heightened risks that's specifically associated with hyper-parameterized complex model algorithms. And one of the top heightened risk is the additional bias, the data bias and algorithmic bias that was introduced by the complex model structures. And this is an emerging risk area. Currently, we're working on a governance framework and requirements to make sure that our models and our model development data really does not introduce additional bias to the model outputs. And that is really related to our fair outcome from the models and fair lending as a financial institution.
So, Sarah, you bring up a great point, on the bias side of it. Looking at it from another angle, how does the diversity of data scientists or the lack thereof, impact the capabilities of the technology we're using to inform, these business analysis and decisions? Would you like to take that?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm glad you mentioned that diversity is really important. And actually, when in my hiring experience, I particularly put diversity as a top focus when I look for candidates to join my team. So I think we can all agree that a diversified team really brings a lot of benefits, both from business results perspective and also from long-term growth and creativity. And more on the bias, to mitigate the bias that we on our decisions. Like if we have a diversified team, we definitely have different perspectives, and we're going to come to a balanced well considered, well thought decision. So I want to give an example probably to help us to understand how diversity really helped me in my in my team. So I think I started with a background and a team to develop models mostly and develop and validate models, but I didn't really have a lot of expertise both from myself and my team members on more of the IT related model applications, model implementation considerations from a model governance perspective. And I think in the last couple of years, my team expanded and we added this centralized model implementation function into the team. So I learn and grow together with the team. I learn a lot of the risks associated with model implementations. Actually, even if you develop the best model that we can have, if there's any risks that are not controlled or any model algorithms that are not appropriately implemented in the system, eventually we're not going to get the desired results. So now my team cover from both model development perspective and also model implementations. So I get to see something coming as starting from an idea to a algorithm and also to the final realization in the system. I see the full model life cycle. I really, really appreciate this additional dimension introduced to my team that really help both sides of the team to understand each other and to bring more dimensions to our decisions.
Right. Thank you for that, Sarah. Lakshmi, would you like to weigh in on how the diversity of data scientists or the lack thereof impact, the capabilities of the technology we use to inform business decisions?
Sure, and it is really, as Sarah said, I'd like to add on in terms of the nature of data scientist is about looking, as I said, looking at the data and being able to drive insights to drive business decisions. So a potential source of bias in many data sets is mostly the people who collect, organize, analyze the data, and make decisions, right? The entire value chain, the data value chain, has the choices that the data scientists have to make, how to measure, how to collect, how to organize. They use influence, they derive and open in terms of their values, there's opportunity, right? Their values, their interests, their life experiences, all these consciously or unconsciously can go into the data they handle and shape the outcomes in line with their understanding of the world, right? Whether it's a process or the business they are involved in. So having a diverse team and a diverse set of people involved gives you the opportunity to actually discuss, brainstorm, and bring different perspectives, because the nature of the work is itself an opportunity, right? It's how you collect the data and how you tag the data, all that could potentially create a bias. That's why data bias is a big topic for us. Everything we do, we want to make sure the data that we collect, the information we look at is serving the business purpose. The other thing is the underrepresentation of women in data science increases that risk. Why? Because your data-driven policies may be designed and implemented in not the best interest, right? So we see things that could be designed as, it's a very simple examples, but we have seen where we can look at, there was a study of car crash dummies, right? Because the dummies were designed by men who had the height and the structure of the dummies, which were not very much set for the women. So when the stats came out of those tests, it shows that women could generally get more injured, right? Because the tests were done based on a dummy that wasn't really set. So It's the same concept here. When we look at the data, we want to have diverse and we want to have all groups represented so that we could get a good idea of how we are looking at all this data and deriving the solution in a holistic way to meet our customer needs.
Absolutely, Lakshmi. So this, with you and Sarah talking about the challenges of your field and also what's exciting about it, it's definitely gotten the audience inspired. We have a couple of questions from them, which I will go to. One of them is, how important is programming to succeed as a data scientist? Lakshmi, would you like to take that first, and then we'll ask Sarah to weigh in?
Sure. Programming is a, I would say, a key part of being a data scientist. Given said that there is a different levels of programming, right? We are looking at a programming where you may write, lots of code to build an app like an IT application, and there are programs like in the data scientist world where there are a good ways to call packages, so you don't have to write every single detailed program. So it is somewhere in between. I would say you don't have to be a programmer in the true sense of being a hardcore programmer, but you need to you should be comfortable with writing program and also being able to understand what is being written, how it works, the kind of the fundamentals of it, and being able to leverage all the other packages and tools and technologies out there. So it's a kind of a in between, but actually understanding the data science, the concepts, the algorithms, the inner workings of how these things work. And also, as a data scientist, the more, I would say, more than even programming is one aspect, also building your business domain expertise or functional expertise in any area that you have your interest. That combination is going to be the most, I would say, the most successful combination.
Yeah, I would have the similar recommendation. I think programming is definitely a required skill to be able to leverage the software or leverage the programming language to help you to achieve your analytics or model development. But we're not looking for a software developer to come up with a new release of a software and add a new functionality, like a software engineer. That you don't have to be a super programmer to be a successful data scientist. But that's definitely a kind of at least you want to master one of the programming languages. You don't have to be an expert in multiple languages, but understanding deeply in one of them will really give you an understanding of more of the concept and the logic that's needed for analytics. And that'll help you to be able to expand that knowledge and understand some of the piece of analytics or models that's developed by a different programming language. But I would recommend to go deep in one of them and focus on understanding the logic and built-in functionalities associated with that programming language, and then focus more on the conceptual or theory related to analytics and modeling, and also marry that to the business objectives and business subjects.
Thank you for that. So we have another audience question. Can you list out a few skills or keywords that can be added on a resume for someone applying to a data science job?
Sure. I think the skills would be, as we said, someone who has, had like some kind of a programming skills. Typically, right now, a Python or SAS. SAS is more traditional statistical, but they could definitely, understand some of those things and work towards maybe getting into a data scientist role. But at least Python and R and some of those seem the prominent skills that we look for from a technical side. And then from the academic side, it's either a combination of computer science, statistical, data science, kind of bachelor's, master's courses. Some people have certifications on data science, as a data science courses. There are also analytics is a key part of it, how they have performed analytics in different areas, whether it's in reporting, whether it's building some business intelligence dashboards or performing some model development, in any of the business functional areas like credit risk, at least for Freddie Mac, right, house pricing, credit risk, collateral management, those kind of areas, servicing. And also, sometimes we also are okay, have people who are maybe in a different industry, right? They could be in a physics, mathematics, aeronautical, but they may have done data scientists. They have studied or had basically the algorithms and the functional, the coursework completed, even though their major was in some of these other fields. And that's okay, because again, we are looking at the skills around the data science. So if they have some of those background, but if they can have the data science understanding, analytics, we actually consider them as well in terms of our recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Lakshmi.
Yeah, I think
anything you'd like to add, Sarah?
Adding to that, I think if it's a model related job, then definitely add the model algorithms or model techniques that you have experience with. That'll be very helpful for us to identify the fit. And from soft skill perspective, I think communicating technical concept to non-technical audience, that's also very important. That's something I would look for.
Thanks so much. I do see that we are at time. Just, a couple of last words. What kind of from both of you before we sign out, what kind of mindset would you say is needed to challenge the status quo in your field? Just a couple of words would be helpful.
So for me, it's really about continuous learning and curiosity. So you want to be able to learn, because when you learn and understand from different perspectives and you're continuously able to actually present information with evidence and facts, then you're going to be able to have others listen to you, to change their mindset, their approach. So it is about always looking at it from all different perspectives, understanding the business, the technologies, the solutions, the policies, the regulations. Everything matters. And then curiosity is really about what can, like innovation, right? How can we think outside the box? What can we do? Can we take something that we learned from here and then bring it over here? Can we try this and fail fast and learn from it and move on? So that curiosity should always be there, because it's an ever-changing world. There are a lot of unknowns. And it is, as one of the challenges is, when you build a model, you have to be able to explain it. It's kind of the inner workings in a data science work. And that means you have to be curious about how it works. How can I explain this in layman terms for a senior management to make the decision?
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, from my side, it's very interesting because we are the model risk management function. Like our day-to-day job is to provide challenge. So I think for us, I tell my team to ask questions and do not be satisfied with an answer. Ask a second question, ask 3 questions, and go deeper until the problem is justified. So really, it's to continuously ask questions and do not be satisfied with what you see. I think another practical effort is that if you have a new idea, just build an alternative to challenge the existing framework and see how it works, and let them compete, and then the real good one will come out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lakshmi, Sarah. These are life learnings as well as those that can be applied to data science. Really appreciate your insights and input today. It's really fascinating. I learned a lot. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We really appreciate you being here as part of Powerfly Summit series.
Thank you. It was great, great being here. Thank you for the opportunity. And please, if anyone has any questions, you can reach me at LinkedIn. I'm happy to follow up and answer any questions.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
same
much.
here. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts on in this field. And I think this is the best way for me to celebrate the Women's History Month.
Yes.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.